weapon but is told, you have an arrest on your record and I can't tell you any more about it. So apparently the current gun control laws that state an allegation of having a controlled substance enough to keep you from buying a gun for an entire year. But even after that year has passed, there's a mistake in the system that still prevents folks from purchasing firearms. That is a deprivation, really, of the Second Amendment rights. Folks aren't able to purchase firearms, which they are allowed to by law. The system says no, and rather than saying, if you think this is an error, here's a phone number you can call to clear it up, they proudly tell you, and we can't tell you any more about it. This is just more separation between the people and the law enforcement who are enforcing the law. I believe this is the narcissism of law enforcement intimidating people from even trying to push through and exercise their rights. Now, I didn't want to show mugshots, and if you decide to look up the dates on the two folks I've already mentioned, I ask that you not post their mugshots, because that's what law enforcement wants, so that we know how they can intimidate and threaten us to keep us thinking the way they would like us to behave, rather than us simply living lives as we should without worrying about breaking the law. Now, this happened up in Rockwall County. Rockwall? Randall. The one just south of Amarillo in the Panhandle. Now, I don't like showing mugshots, but something happened to this guy and it scares me. This guy was arrested April 27th for pedestrian in a roadway. Doesn't look happy. He was arrested, well, 3.5 weeks later. Pedestrian in a roadway and resisting arrest. He then is taken into arrest 5 days later, which would then be the arrest on October 27th, the arrest on September 22nd, and now this arrest on September 27th of 2019. Burglary of a vehicle, evading arrest, resisting arrest, and fraud possession of 5 to 10 credit cards, apparently. What the hell? What the hell? I understand that folks might be upset, but this guy, my belief is that Randall County law enforcement were just like, you know what, we've taken this guy into custody 3 times in 1 month. He's just going to be a pain in the ass. Let's see what we can't throw against him to get him taken out of the social order altogether. As I recall looking up this guy's criminal case, he's got 3 to 5 years in Texas State Prison. Dustin Casey McClure, I think his name is, and I don't know. This terrifies me. This is terrifying. This is absolutely terrifying. Now, a friend of mine who was on... Now, another friend of mine had actually committed a burglary. Someone he knew stole the only picture that he had of his father. So this guy broke into the dude's house, couldn't find the picture, but took his TV and a stereo or something. Now, the news put up pictures of folks that they suspected had completed this theft. He goes into the Hidalgo County Sheriff's Office and says, you've got the wrong guys, it was me, and this is why I did it. And they told him, thank you so much, you've made our lives easier, we'll speak to the prosecutors, and we'll make sure that you get a decent reduced sentence because you've worked with us. They just gave him 8 years of probation. That's just, when you look up people who get hit with burglary of a habitation, they all get 8 years of probation. So when cops tell you, come to us, we're going to help you out and show you kindness when you cooperate, don't believe it. They're just lying. A friend of mine's daughter was recently taken under arrest in San Patricio County. She had a cartridge that had next to nothing in it. She told him it was CBD. The gentleman, the officer, did 2 field tests, both of which came back necessary. He still arrested her, and while she was sitting in the county jail, he was having to look on his phone to learn how to fill out the paperwork justifying her freedom being taken away. They stick her in a room for hours on end with no one in there, and she had never been arrested before, and they would have known this because they would have looked her up on LexisNexis and seen, hey, there's nothing going on, she's not a criminal. I'm the kind of person that if someone's been in that for the first time, I would poke my head in every hour just to say, hey, still in the morning, you got some time to go before you go before the magistrate judge. Wanted to poke my head in, because I don't want people hurting. I don't want them to feel bad. If I can just poke my head in and say, you're not alone, you're still here, just hang on, we're there for you, just chill, I would have done it to put that person at ease. But law enforcement doesn't do that because they like applying that emotional pressure of domination, so it elevates their sense of selves above us. Our identities are fuel for their narcissism. Another friend of mine was arrested for marijuana. It was less than a gram of weed, and they were driving on the highway south from San Antonio. And this DPS person who finds this gram of weed apparently really wants to put on a show. And because they were close to the Falfurrias checkpoint, she makes a phone call and has 3 or 4 other federal vehicles out there. My friend, he and his girlfriend are arrested, and the officer at the county jail says, I would have just let this go. I wouldn't have arrested you. So whenever you see someone pulled over and you see a bunch of cop cars around them, don't take it seriously. The person might only have like a gram of marijuana. They might not have anything on them as well. But law enforcement just wants to put on a show. Watch out. Okay, so then what do we do about this? One thing I don't like is that magistrate judges assign different bond amounts for pretty much the same crime. If you get picked up with a penalty group 2 controlled substance on the west side of Hidalgo County, and penalty group 2 is a marijuana concentrate like the cartridges and the waxes, and I believe edibles would also fall into that. Now the district attorney down here is awesome by prosecuting those as Class B misdemeanors and not the felonies. But the magistrate judge over here in the west side, in McAllen, when he or she, I don't know who it is, sees a young person picked up, they are almost always personal recognizance bonds of $2,500, $2,000 or $5,000. The magistrate judge out in Westlaco, the eastern part of Hidalgo County, sees controlled substance penalty group 2, which under the Texas code is classified as a felony. Bam, $10,000, $20,000. I've seen $10,000 bonds for less than a gram. And so that magistrate might be really good friends with bondsmen who can get more money out of this. But this is something where I would love to see the people of Hidalgo County look into their magistrate judges, look to the people who they are electing who assigned bond amounts and evaluating whether or not they are fair. I don't believe that there's any need for the district attorney of Hidalgo County to issue some blanket message that says these are now the bond amounts for these crimes. We the people need to inform ourselves about what the folks we put into the office are doing, and if we don't agree with how they're treating folks, then we put someone else in power who is going to be executing their office in a manner that we believe is going to support the harmony of the social order and not hurt those who are taken into custody, and certainly not make those folks who have been taken into custody think that they have no chance of harmoniously reassimilating with the social order because those arbiters of all immoral action have treated them so poorly. Folks who are in custody subconsciously recognize I am of so weak, evil down identity as communicated to me by the treatment of those who are above me, since we are told to respect law enforcement from such a young age, I no longer wish to participate in the social order. Law enforcement is a manifestation, a construct of the will of the social order. And when we put those people in charge and give them the right to take away people's freedom, and when those people treat the folks in custody poorly, folks who are in custody take that injury deep into their subconscious sense of identity and end up subordinating themselves to the rest of the social aggregate, which has put these people in power that hurt them. So my point is that from the moment of arrest, folks have little chance of ever really healing and reconciling and bringing their behaviors into consonance with the expectations of the social order, because they recognize that the means of correcting bad behavior is itself corrupt. Who would want to engage with a social order that has law enforcement in charge who treat folks so poorly and break the laws themselves and don't face consequences for it? Oh, this is great. Okay, I'm the bookkeeper of a smoke shop, and this one evening Joel headed out to run of his errands, and then this guy comes in, and I could tell he was a professional class. He was very well shaven, short hair, was wearing gym clothes. He's nervous, and he's being very careful about not using any sensitive verbiage. It's tobacco. And this guy's telling me that he is having to purchase his second water pipe in 2 weeks because his maid broke his first one. He picks up a nice $200 glass piece. His previous piece had also been $200. This guy mentions he's a lawyer. I start freaking out, thinking to myself, this guy's a lawyer, he's been picked up for something, and the cops have told him, if you come into this smoke shop and can have the bad words used, we can then say that you have been sold paraphernalia, which is against the law, which will allow us to prosecute that smoke shop. We don't sell paraphernalia. But I'm just saying this is how law enforcement work. This is how this is what I thought this guy was up to. So this guy's very polite. About 45 minutes, he's nervous. He gets his water pipe. He heads on out. He had mentioned he was a lawyer. By the grace of God, he paid with a credit card. And so I Google attorney and his name. He was, it's no longer the same guy. He was the assistant district attorney for felony intake of Hidalgo County. And these are the folks who were buying $200 water pipes, 2 in as many weeks. And he mentioned how nervous he was about how no one could find out. But the former district attorney in charge of felony intake in Hidalgo County likes water pipes. What else do I have to talk about? Oh, so I had spoken to the FBI back in December of 2015. Okay, you know how like when someone at FedEx or UPS like comes to deliver a package to you, they've got that thing in front of them? Whenever I've gotten packages, it's always been like this. Name, sign here, whatever. I walk into the smoke shop. 20 feet ahead of me is the delivery person from FedEx. And now let's say the camera is like from my angle walking towards and I'm the FedEx guy. He wasn't looking at his delivery thing like this. He was doing this. With the camera on the other side, I look up and notice, and he immediately does this. There's a trainer guy with him who is farther away and on the display, on the other side of a display. As I am walking past that display, I turn to look at him. He steps back. That guy who had been avoiding me in the smoke shop that day after I noticed the UPS driver trying to take a picture then angling it down, had also been watching me tutor one of my students at Starbucks several months before. I had seen him watching me, and first of all, athletic, middle-aged white dudes sitting in a comfortable chair at Starbucks reading a book that is not the Bible. You feds really need to do some research into the culture in which you are trying to assimilate, because you people stick out like sore thumbs. I know I stick out, but I do that as a distraction, so I know when people are coming after me because they start manipulating this sort of identity in a way that lets me know they're after something. You people are way too full of yourselves, you FBI. And so that dude who was watching me tutor my friend Connie is the same one, I believe, who was working with the UPS to get that employee of UPS to get my picture.